morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the listeners here at Hammered Media Podcast. I'm Nick.
My name is Bobby.
And we're the hosts here at the podcast. Just to give you a quick rundown of what our podcast is about, we're basically covering all major stories in sports, and we're going to input our opinions on those different topics and how we feel, and just go on about everything that is going on in the sports world. You know, sports is the biggest part of this country and many countries outside the United States. And we're just going to go in. Bobby, do you have anything to add?
I think what Nick forgot to mention is we're pretty much going to put a spin of our own, a unique spin, a unique take on everything. We're going to bring our own sense of humor. We're going to bring our own lightness. Obviously, this is not going to be the most serious podcast because I'm involved in it, because I'm the biggest – if anybody knows me that's listening knows that I'm one of the biggest goofballs there ever could be.
Very true, very true.
I'm not serious, barely ever.
Very true.
So we're seriously going to try to entertain you. We are seriously going to try to bring you facts, but at the same time, I'm not going to be serious.
It's very true. I mean, I'm going to give a little background on myself just so you know that we're not just two random dudes trying to make it out here. Yeah, you and that bald head.
That's a beautiful bald head.
So I am a 21-year-old. I played football my entire life. I played a few seasons of baseball, a few seasons of basketball. I played Division I football at Wagner College. Unfortunately, I had a career-ending injury that prevented me from continuing to play. About a year later, I did try and play a semi-professional league that's on the come-up now, labeled the A7FL for the New Jersey Hawks, which is where I met my co-host, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
And honestly, after we met, we were just inseparable.
Yeah, man.
We're the same person. We're literally the same person.
Except he's got a nice flow.
Yeah,
I got nothing up top, man.
I got some nice flow going.
That comes with age.
But you got the beard.
Down the line.
You got the beard.
That's it. I got it. It's all right.
So, Bobby, if you want to go into your background.
So I'm a little bit older than Nick. I'm not going to reveal my age just yet. I'm 33. Been playing football forever. Backyard, organized, all that stuff. Like he said, man, we met on the team, myself and our good friend Steve Pachowski. He won't mind the name drop.
Shout out, Steve.
Shout out to Steve. Big Steve-O. Yeah, we met playing football, you know. Fortunately enough, Nick came to our team and played a big hand in getting us to the playoffs, for sure. Hell of a season last year. Yeah, and like he said, man, we've been friends ever since. He's one of the coolest guys on the team, one of the coolest people I've met out here in the real world, and I appreciate his friendship. And we're about to embark on something special here.
There we are.
Now the sappy shit is out of the way.
Yep.
See, I cursed already. This is not going to go well in the first 5 minutes. We can edit that. We can bleep that one out.
Yep. No, you're good. It's a podcast, remember?
Oh, yeah. Fuck.
Yep. Alrighty, so we might as well just dive right into our first topic. You know, one of the biggest talks of the NFL offseason, of this 2020 offseason, is Tom Brady not renewing his contract with the Patriots and moving to the Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
See ya. Get him out of the division. For those of you guys that don't know, I'm a big Buffalo Bills fan.
And if you haven't taken notice,
yeah,
I'm a Raiders fan.
Can tell. There you go. Raiders, Bills. See, Brady got us both in a couple times.
Yep.
But, you know, let me just preface this whole conversation by saying, finally, he is out of the division, out of the conference. Get him out. It's been 20 damn years of torture with this guy at the quarterback helm in New England, beating the Buffalo Bills' ass twice a year. Maybe we got 4 wins against the guy. I don't even know. It's not that many. I definitely can count him on one hand. So him being gone in Tampa Bay is my biggest wet dream come true.
Biggest wet dream. I mean, you couldn't have said it any better, Bobby. I completely agree. I feel as though Tom Brady at the quarterback helm in New England, it was long overdue for him to leave. Again, I reiterate, back in, I believe it was 2001, the Tuck rule, Charles Woodson. Yes, he did strip Tom Brady. Yes.
Hey, it looked clean to me. Looked clean to me.
That was clean. And I believe that if that call was never made, the Raiders honestly would have made it to the Super Bowl, and they would have won the Super Bowl that year. Over the
It's hard to argue.
It is very hard to argue. Over the course of the rest of the seasons coming up until now, don't get me wrong, he is one hell of a quarterback. He's got a killer IQ. He can see the field. He knows where to throw the ball. His mechanics are amazing. But I just feel as though a background change is what he needed, and I feel as though he's coming to an end. His career is coming to an end.
Yeah. And you kind of broke up, so I couldn't hear you. For those that don't realize, we're on quarantine, so We're doing this podcast, the first ever podcast. What a better time to do it over Zoom?
Exactly.
Shout out to Zoom. You guys are awesome. Not a sponsor yet.
Not a sponsor.
Zero sponsors. Zero sponsors. Hit the email, thehammeredmedia@gmail.com.
Hammeredmedia@gmail.com.
Welcome.
Put it right here.
They're welcome.
Put it right
They're
here.
welcome. But I like I said, I couldn't. Kind of broke up, so I don't know if you mentioned the contract at all. It was 2 years.
Yep, I did not. It's from my notes here, it's $50 million over 2 years.
Beautiful.
That I feel as though that is way overpaid. I get it. Tom Brady is labeled quote unquote the GOAT, which I don't believe he's the GOAT. I believe there are other quarterbacks that are better than Tom Brady. But a lot of people think that he's the GOAT all because of his Super Bowl rings. I don't feel as though his Super Bowl rings define a career. I mean, if you want to kind of segue over to basketball for a second, look at Michael Jordan. Everyone says Michael Jordan's the best basketball player ever because of how many rings he has. Bill Russell has one more, but no one. That's not a conversation people are ready for.
Hey, let me correct you real quick. Bill Russell has 11, and nobody mentions him as the GOAT.
There you go. See, I'm not even
Bill
up
Russell
on.
has
I'm not
Bill
even
Russell
up on that.
2 more rings than LeBron and Michael Jordan combined, and that nobody's ever mentioned Bill Russell as the greatest player.
Exactly.
Because nobody goes off of the rings.
Exactly.
So for anybody to go off of the rings in football to me, it's I don't want to come off as aggressive just yet, but it seems kind of hypocritical because, like I said, you're not mentioning Bill Russell as the best basketball player, best NBA player to ever live. You're talking Michael Jordan. You're talking LeBron James.
Yep.
Kobe Bryant, Wilt Chamberlain. Those are the top 4 that come to my mind. So what Brady has done in the playoffs has been, I'm not going to knock it. I'm a Bills fan. I've watched it thoroughly. But for anybody to sit there and say that he is, the best football player, best quarterback, I don't think that's the case. You look at teams like, the Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning. You look at what he did after a career-threatening neck injury in Denver. He went on to win a Super Bowl and made them one of the fiercest teams possibly ever.
Oh yeah.
And you look at people like Joe Montana, who to me, I still don't think he's the GOAT. I think Peyton Manning is the best quarterback to ever play the game. But that's my opinion. We could argue that. You label my social media handle right at the bottom so people get inboxed all they want. I don't really care. But, like I said, if we're going off the rings, yeah, okay. But I don't think we are. I think the GOAT status is, Super Bowls, appearances, playoff runs, and regular season.
Now, Bobby,
it's tough to argue against a guy like Peyton Manning.
A lot of people will bring up the fact that Tom Brady erased that deficit against Atlanta.
Hey, listen. If Kyle Shanahan runs that damn ball, that doesn't happen. Just like last year. If Kyle Shanahan runs that damn ball, they don't lose.
Yep.
If
I completely agree.
Tuck rule doesn't happen, who knows if they make it? Spygate, Deflategate. I'm not sour grapes maybe, but I don't know. I don't know. There's a hell of a comeback. I'm not defecating.
No, it is hell of a comeback. I will say, I do agree that Tom Brady does have the caliber to be a top contender for best quarterback. But do I feel as though right now he is the best quarterback? No. Not a chance. I mean,
no.
A lot of people will just go off that. And, I mean, you got to also look at who he had on his team. 2000, what is it, 2006, 2007, he had Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the best wide receivers to ever play football.
I mean, they broke – I sound condescending, but they broke the records. Brady had the most touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Randy Moss had the most reception, passes. But how many other receivers have had 20-plus touchdown seasons? Not too many. You can name them on one hand.
Exactly. And I mean, not
So
only
what does that say?
Not only does he have he have Randy Moss, he also had Julian Edelman, who's a great wide receiver.
Wes Welker,
great wide receiver. He has the tools,
Was that pre-Gronk?
Wes Welker, I believe, was near the beginning of Gronk.
Okay, so maybe I would have to fact check that, but even if he didn't, he still had
Yeah, and
he had the continuity of having the same coordinators.
You're kind of cutting out there.
You don't see that 20 coaches in my day. You see 100 quarterbacks. You don't see the continuity that Brady has had the luxury of having throughout a whole career in the NFL.
Yep. Now, one thing I do want to bring up with the big offseason signing coming out of retirement, the big Rob Gronkowski also signing with the Bucs. Now he signed a $10 million over 1 year, a 1-year contract. How do you feel that that's going to impact the Buccaneers offense this year?
So, personally, I like it and I don't like it. I like it because it's Brady to Gronk, and we know what that
that's
we
a
know
killer.
the magnitude.
It's a killer combo right there.
However, you look on the flip side. You look at who they had. O.J. Howard, who never had a real quarterback to begin with. James Winston had a hell of a monster year. Take away the interceptions. 30. He was the first 30 for 30 guy. 30 touchdowns, 30 picks, over 5,000 yards. But you haven't had him. O.J. Howard. You haven't had O.J. Howard in a real system for back-to-back years. Dirk Cutter, his first coach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where's he? I don't know. I don't even know where he is right now.
Yep.
So you give O.J. Howard a chance with Tom Brady, who people want to say is the best quarterback ever. I think he could be better than Gronk in the Patriots era. So for that, I don't like it. What I also don't like is, I don't know if I'm going to step on your toes and your thoughts, but Gronk retired from the NFL due to injuries.
Yep.
He went away, did his WWE thing.
Look at his last three seasons. He was wearing the arm,
bionic arm.
Yeah. Basically, the whole fall for his last 3 seasons, and he was out half the season. I believe it was either last season or 2 seasons ago. He was out half the season on injury, on IRL.
Yeah. Well, he was out last year for retired. He was retired last year. Now, granted, of course, Brady's numbers it showed, but like I said, he retired for a reason.
Exactly.
His back, his elbow, his knees.
The only thing I will say, though, is especially for a person like myself who had an injury, couldn't play at the college Division I level anymore, I came back. But what I will say is, as you know, Bobby, I played most of that season. I played my heart out. I did what I could do. But injuries caught up with me. Same injuries that I've been dealing with since I was in high school caught up with me. And obviously they have a lot more tools medically than we do, but injuries are still going to come. So I completely agree with you with that this could be something that it's a hit or miss, honestly. It could be something great because you got Brady to Gronk. Everybody knows that's a power duo right there. But it could also be bad because he could play 1 or 2 games and get hurt. And if you lose Gronk in that kind of offense, who knows what's going to happen?
Now, as a podcast host of the sports show, I feel a little ashamed that I don't know this, but how many seasons in the past – well, how many seasons in Gronk's career has he finished the whole thing? Has he played 16 games? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I feel embarrassed not knowing that, but
I don't know either. But I don't think he was able to play
because I know he hasn't the last couple of years that he played, and that led him to choosing to retire and go doing his WWE thing. He became a wrestler.
Yep, he's
lost a ton of weight.
He's trying to become
a wrestler. He wasn't
trying to become the Rock
anymore.
He's trying to become the Rock.
Yeah. Yeah. Is he mentally prepared to go through an NFL season? Especially now with who knows what's going on with,
Yeah,
with,
he had a
with
year
COVID,
off. He
all
had a
this,
year off. He had a whole
you
year
know?
off.
Yeah.
If he was hopefully he was working out and doing what he had to do, stay in shape. But especially
Right.
with COVID going on, everything was shut down for a solid X amount of time. You never know exactly what he was doing. I mean, trust me, he's got enough money. I'm sure he was working out. He's got a home gym. But you
Yeah.
never know if
Yeah.
he you never
Probably
know if
got a
he was
better home gym than me
utilizing
working out in my bedroom,
exactly. But hopefully he
Right.
was utilizing because I would
Right.
love to see that Tom Brady to Gronk all season next season, because that is a killer duo, and I can tell you right now that they just have chemistry that not many quarterback to receivers have.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you look at Mike Evans, you look at Godwin,
Yep.
and I'll get into it. I'll get into that later on. We have a little topic coming up. You look at those receivers on the outside, and then Gronk, who's a mismatch. When healthy, I would love to see that in a different uniform, other than torturing my team. Seeing Gronk to Brady anywhere else, but in the AFC East is a beautiful, beautiful thing for football fans everywhere.
Yep.
And everyone should admit that because they know it's true. If they say otherwise, they're hating, or they're a Bills fan, or they're a Jets fan, or they're a Dolphins fan.
Yep, or a Raiders fan.
Or or an AFC conference fan. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Depends
right.
on which way you want to go.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I definitely feel as though Tom Brady can definitely make some noise for this Buccaneers team, especially coming. I mean, the Buccaneers have had terrible backgrounds in the quarterback position. With the draft of Jameis Winston, who, don't get me wrong, I followed Jameis when he was at Florida State. He was a great quarterback, but his mind was not there.
There was something always off about him.
Exactly.
And whether it was the whole, the alleged sexual assaults, the alleged crab legs.
Crab legs, yep.
I used to call him King Crab, so I don't know. There was something always off. He didn't seem like football was his number one. He seemed like he wanted to do other things.
Yep.
Maybe he played more for the celebrity. I don't know. I'm not in his camp. Obviously, I'm just a guy on the couch. I don't know.
Yep.
But you look at the stories, and something's just a little off with it. I don't want to say with him because I don't want to sound like I'm saying something wrong, but something's a little off with him. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. I mean, if you look at that 2013 Seminole team, you have guys that are prospering in the NFL right now, in the league.
Yeah.
And like Devontae Freeman, for example. Devontae Freeman is an insane running back, in my opinion. Insane.
It's crazy.
He's doing everything he needs to do,
Yeah, sidebar, it blows my mind that guy is, unsigned still.
Uh-huh. Yep.
I got my son here. Got my son here. Hey.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, and you put everything else into it as well. Kelvin Benjamin. Look at Kelvin Benjamin. He made some noise for the Panthers when he was drafted. Kelvin
Benjamin had a nice little career, down in Carolina.
Yep.
When he came to Buffalo, he looked like, to quote Booger McFarland, one Popeye's biscuit away from playing tight end. So he looked more like me than a professional receiver. But before that knee injury, he was a 1,500-yard guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's with Cam Newton. Cam Newton's, I would say, comparable to Jameis Winston. Except Cam Newton can run a little bit better, but Jameis Winston can still move. But my point about Jameis Winston, that goes against what Tom Brady's coming into. Tom Brady's coming into a guy, Bruce Arians, who Bruce Arians clearly didn't want Jameis Winston. Just did not want him. And it's unfortunate because Jameis Winston did not get the continuity of playing a second year in a Bruce Arians offense, who the man is known for transforming quarterbacks into great players.
Yep.
He did it with Big Ben. He did it with Andrew Luck. He was – I don't know if you want to say – I don't know if he even did anything with Kurt Warner, but, Big Ben and Andrew Luck is nothing to sneeze at. Those guys are pretty good quarterbacks in their time. And Bruce Arians did that. And it seems unfair that Brady, comes in and Jameis Winston goes by the wayside. Now he's a backup in where? New Orleans?
I believe he's in New Orleans. But then
hey,
again, you got to think though, he was also battling.
Don't throw 30 interceptions in a season.
Yep. No, but that was the thing was he was battling with the backup. Your what was it? His third, fourth year that he was playing for the Buccaneers, a starting quarterback, that he had to battle for his job still.
Yeah.
Now don't get me wrong. Being through the Division I system, I'll tell you right now, no matter what, your job is never set.
Right.
You are never set in that position. You will have to battle day in and day out, and I had to endure that. I had to go through it because when I was at Wagner, I'll be honest, there's guys. Shout out Greg Sonat, just won a Super Bowl ring. He was playing offensive tackle. I can tell you right now, those coaches' mindset at Wagner, Greg Sonat could have got his job taken like that. But
that's the way it should be.
He put in the work. And me personally knowing him, I can tell you, he put in work. He worked his ass off in the weight room, in class. He worked his ass off on the field. It's all in a mindset. You got to understand that you have to put the work in. Now, who knows what was going on in training camp and in practice with Jameis Winston if he was there mentally, if he knew that, oh, shit, I can get my job taken. So,
yeah. And that, to me, that goes with every player, in the league. But to my point, Brady's had the continuity, and I'm not comparing them at all. Obviously, it's like comparing Sour Patch Kids to real fruit.
Yep.
It's two different things. Brady has the continuity. Jameis Winston never had the continuity. He had two different systems. He came in battling Ryan Fitzpatrick for his starting job, and I guess the point that I'm making is that I feel like, with Jameis at least, he didn't have the shot that Brady. Brady comes in, he's 43, he's coming off of probably statistically one of the worst seasons he's ever had.
Yep.
And now you stick him with two of the best receivers in Godwin and Mike Evans. Gronk, we know the Brady and Gronk connection. Well, why wouldn't Jameis be allowed to have that again in a second season with Bruce Arians?
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly.
I don't know. I don't know how we got to talking about Jameis Winston, but
that's what happens, man. You just start veering off and you just start talking.
Especially when I get on Tom Brady rants. Oh my God, I can go for days about how overrated I think he is. But
definitely,
I'll save that for another show.
Let's bring it back in locally. As you know, me and Bobby are from New Jersey, so we have the tri-state area at all sports. With New York, there was a recent news story put out that sports are going to be coming back and opening up in New York. But this raises a lot of questions with this whole process of opening. Now, obviously, the Jets and the Giants are in New Jersey. Now, I know from us, we're not open, and we don't plan on opening anytime soon. We're working on phases to
open. That's what I heard, the phase thing, but I've heard discussions about the potential of opening sports teams in Jersey, but I don't think there's been anything set in stone about it.
I haven't heard honestly anything that's been actual factual evidence to show that New Jersey sports are going to start opening again.
Right.
I know that it's definitely going to be a challenge due to the amount of skeptical opinions going on with both New York and New Jersey, especially with the teams like the Knicks in Manhattan, which is Manhattan doesn't, from what I heard, Manhattan does not plan on opening anytime soon.
Yeah, without getting into the politics of whatever, I don't know what the plans are for governments to open. So that kind of leaves teams like, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, the Knicks are garbage this year, admittedly, by every Knicks fan I've ever talked to.
Very true.
They'll tell you that it doesn't matter if New York opens or not. The Knicks are done. They're not going to be – if the NBA takes on the NHL plan, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and expands the playoffs, I don't think the Knicks would even make it in there to begin with. So I think the Knicks are done.
I don't think so either.
I think what, New York fans are looking more, at in a broad spectrum is the Nets, or the New Jersey Nets going to be – or New Jersey Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, are they going to be able to open and operate if they do come back?
Yeah, because, Brooklyn falls under what Governor Cuomo wants to do. And I feel as though I have an idea that the sports teams such as the Knicks, the Nets, the Yankees, the Mets, all the different teams that are based out of New York are going to probably go train elsewhere.
Oh yeah.
And on top of that, what are they going to do about when the seasons actually start? What's going to happen with home games? Are they not going to play home games? Are they all just going to play away games? And there's laws put out now that won't allow a certain amount of people to be in the same area. So Yankee Stadium, I don't know the exact number, but that's tens of thousands of fans that go to these games every game. That's not going to be a factor anymore. Now think about that on the aspect of home field advantage.
Oh my God, a Boston Red Sox New York Yankees game? Oh my God.
Exactly. Now, how do you think that's going to impact the Yankees that they can't play against, for example, the Boston Red Sox in New York, but they have to play them in Boston? Now, obviously, they play them in Boston, but there's always that one game that they can come back and take from them in the series in New York.
Right. It's definitely an interesting time, to open up sports and to be a sports fan, to be an athlete, to be an owner, because you're as much limbo as everybody else in the world is, throughout the country of, not working, not knowing when their next paycheck is going to be, say what you want about their money income. They're just as unsure as we are. Nobody knows. You take Kyrie Irving. He doesn't know if I understand he was hurt, but he doesn't know if he's going to be able to play this year again.
Yep.
You look at the Yankees. Aaron Boone. Do I get to manage again? Do I get my job? Then you look at the owners. Do I have income? Are we going to be able to open this thing back up? And if we do, are we going to be able to sell tickets and put asses in the seats?
Exactly.
For one, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be fanless, events.
Yep. I feel sort of, for example, the WWE has been experimenting with that.
Yes.
I'll be honest. I watched a few of the SmackDown and Raw without any fans.
It is not the same.
It is not the same.
It is not the same.
I found it comedical because you don't have fans. They're talking to nobody.
Yes.
And it's weird because you're used to either if you're there or you're used to watching on TV. You got all the fans in the background. You got all the cheering. You got the signs. You got the energy.
Yeah.
There's no more energy.
I watched Drew McIntyre win his WrestleMania match and win the title with nobody watching. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to get too deep into WWE because I'm a big fan. I could probably go all day. But, winning the WWE title is essentially being told you're the man of the company. You're running this shit. And to have that moment in front of nobody, it was awkward as a fan to watch. It was upsetting. So what are we going to do come Super Bowl time?
Exactly.
Are we going to watch, so-and-so quarterback raise the Lombardi in front of nobody? let's say it's a first-time quarterback in the Super Bowl. We win the title, right?
Yes.
Then what? Yay, I'm celebrating in front of nobody. This confetti means nothing. We might as well play it in somebody's backyard.
Exactly.
It's just it's a big limbo time, and unfortunately for everybody, everybody's affected. I get that, but I think more so. I don't want to sound insensitive at all, but I think more so sports fans are just as much, affected by all this extra stuff than anybody else.
Exactly, and
like
I'm going to be honest.
I don't want to sound. I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to sound insensitive, because I trust me. I get everybody's. Everybody's affected by this, and it's scary times. But me, I'm miserable. I have nothing to watch, and I know that's
exactly.
First world problems.
I would come home and I would immediately put on ESPN, or I would put on whatever's on, college football or MLB, something. There's nothing. Yeah. They're running reruns from years ago. Now, it's entertaining to see. Oh yeah, I remember that, but it gets boring after a while. You're watching.
Can I bet on that?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
Can I bet on the 2006 cornhole tournament that they're showing on ESPN, the Ocho? No, I can't. So that takes away a lot of this. There's enjoyments for everybody out there, whether they watch the sports for the games or watch the sports for something else. And right now, everything is taken away from everybody except for the WWE. And we all have seen how awkward that is to watch. It's a tough watch.
Yep, exactly. And me personally, I would rather go to a game than watch it on TV. That's my personal preference.
I agree.
It's a different feel for the event when you're actually there with fans watching in person. I'll tell you right now, MLB, I watch it, but it's a hell of a lot more fun when you're there. It's a lot more entertaining. You got all the other extracurricular stuff going on, but when you're home, if sports goes in this direction where you can't even go and watch the games anymore, it's going to be boring. MLB is going to lose viewers. I can tell you that right now, because honestly, a lot of their ticket sales are businesses buying boxes. For example, like the Knicks, most of their sales for the past couple seasons have been businesses having business meetings. For example, my brother, he works in the city in Manhattan. They periodically have meetings during a Knicks game. But if you can no longer go and enjoy a game in person, though these leagues are going to suffer, and the possibility of losing viewers, sports may never. I hate to say it, but sports may never be the same again.
It's a scary thought. You're a diehard sports fan. I'm a diehard sports fan. It's a scary thought to think that, somebody I was fortunate enough to have an uncle who brought me to every game. He could. Yep. He was a diehard Philly sports fan. So he brought me to every. There you go. I grew up in that place, that dump.
Yep. Citizens Bank Park.
Not even Citizens. I was there before.
Not anymore.
I'm older than you. You're forgetting that.
Yeah, I grew up in Citizens Bank Park. That's where I was.
I grew up in the vet where they had a jail under the stadium for all the drunks that got in the fights.
Yep.
That's me. That's my type of atmosphere. But my point is, growing up in that atmosphere, being around these people, seeing all the animals, the hardcore fans, the diehard fans, and the fact that them not being able to go this year or maybe next, them being in limbo, it's tough. It's tough. It's a weird feeling. It's strange times, man. It's just a strange time.
It's definitely strange. Now, again, on to the sort of reopening. Now we're not just necessarily going to focus on New York and the tri-state area. The NBA did put out a statement saying that there's a possibility they will be continuing all their games at Disney's ESPN World of Sports.
Which that does tie in to locally, because the Nets are our playoff team.
Yep.
That does. So that's very important. It's important news.
Yeah, no,
It's very
definitely.
important news.
And that's one thing you got to think about. For example, the Boston Celtics. That's an arena, I can tell you right now, because I've seen it firsthand. That's an arena that if those fans aren't there, I'm going to be honest. I don't think the Celtics will be as good as they can be with their home fans rallying behind them. So, and if you put in
It's different. It's
exactly,
different. It's
exactly,
definitely different.
it's definitely different. I mean, look at back in I hate to keep bringing up so far in the past when the
You
Heat
look at with that.
when the Heat played Boston, and you gotta look at both those arenas. When LeBron, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, when they
At
were in
Miami
Miami.
Arena.
Yep, when they
My
were in Miami,
God, the
American
place was
Airlines
a
Arena,
zoo.
that place was insane.
Place was a zoo.
You got Kevin Garnett, Rajon Rondo, Paul Pierce in Boston. Insane.
Man, you even take it back to a couple of years ago. You know, I know Golden State stinks this year with everything that happened with them, but you take it to their finals teams, that arena was one of the loudest you've ever heard.
Exactly. But if you're
You know, so
playing,
if anybody thinks that's not an advantage, they're mistaken.
it's a huge advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Especially think of the foul shots, free throws.
Try taking a foul shot, getting screamed at. Motherfuck this, you suck that. Man,
Yep.
I can't even shoot free throws in the park, let alone
Exactly.
17,000 people screaming down my face. You know,
Exactly.
it's an advantage. It's definitely an advantage.
Exactly. And in my opinion, I feel it's a little unfair for anyone who doesn't live in Florida or near the ESPN World of Sports, because then you have to spend that extra money. You have to fly out to Disney. You have to get into the World of Sports, buy the ticket. Then you get to enjoy the team, and you don't even get to enjoy it in your own stadium, in your own arena.
Are they even going to be allowed to have fans in that?
That is a big possibility too. That no one can even go, and then you have two teams that are just battling it out on TV. There's no sound.
Right, but I know Florida's an open state right now. I'm about 99% sure that Florida is open.
Yeah.
You know, to the public.
Yep.
I don't. Are the NBA commissioners and owners, you know, the commissioner and the owners, are they going to agree to putting their players at risk? You know, the rest of the season at risk. I don't even think that's going to be open to this. You know, the general public. I don't think tickets are going to be on sale for that. And if they are, it would blow my mind. I would be extremely, extremely surprised. Not only surprised, I think I would be disappointed at this point if there's any type of spectatorship at these games.
Yeah. No, and I completely agree. I just feel, though, for me personally, and I'm probably going to get some hatred for this. People are going to be like, oh, you're the problem. No, I'm not. I did not
You are a problem. You are a problem. Let's specify that.
Okay, no, I'm a problem in my own ways, all right? But me personally, I did not let COVID-19 affect my life.
You can't.
Exactly. And I still lived my life. I still did my everyday routine. I did everything that I would normally do if this wasn't going on. Now, obviously, things had to change because of the laws put in place. But the thing that's gonna impact the sports world so much is that you're not gonna have the norm. You're not gonna have the fans cheering behind you. You're not gonna have so many practices. You're not going to have the ability to just go to the gym and work out. You're gonna have to figure out exactly how they're gonna incorporate practices. I know that they did say that they're gonna slowly. I believe it was of May 26th, Tuesday, May 26th, yesterday. The NBA was going to start training camps and practices and workouts and all that stuff so that the athletes can get back into it. Now, I know I have seen things like LeBron James. He has access to a private gym. It's his gym, you know. So he sharpens his game. I know I'm 99% sure that NBA players, they'll have access to a gym to go shoot around in. Most athletes will have access to a home gym, or they'll have access to a gym.
While it's on my mind, I don't mean to step on your toes here, but while it's on my mind, to your point, I did get a notification on my phone before that the Chicago Bulls facilities are opening voluntarily.
Yep,
voluntarily
I did hear that.
practice. So
Yeah, they're
yeah,
starting to do voluntary
yeah,
practices. I feel as though it's not a bad thing. But there is also the possibility because there have been some NBA players that have tested positive.
yeah. And you know what? To that point, Utah Jazz is the main team that was affected the most, and Utah Jazz is a very good team. So what does that mean for the rest of? It's just this whole thing is just it's a scary, weird time, man. It
Exactly.
just really is.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and just to segue on to our next point, the possibility that I did see some things of players that are not willing to come back, which is a great idea that they're making it voluntary, but what if they start saying, hey, you guys need to start showing up to practice, but these players don't feel it's safe?
Right.
There's the possibility of a player strike.
Right.
I mean, look at what the NBA went through what was it, back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, I believe. They had the whole NBA strike where their players were playing underground games. And would I want to see a player strike? Obviously not, because that just puts so much stress on the league. But then again, you have to think these are the players that are putting their bodies on the line to provide entertainment. Now, yes, they are being compensated a great amount for it, but then you have the other people who are behind the scenes that aren't doing much, that are making more money, and they're not putting their bodies on the line.
Right.
And so I feel as though that there could be a possibility of a player strike if this doesn't work out correctly, the way that the smart way. And if that ends up being the thing, then so be it. I'm 100% for the players. I would rather have safety in players, especially being an athlete who was hurt. These players don't get second chances. They don't get I'm fumbling on my words here. I can't think of the right words. But
so even if we want to call it something other than a player strike, let's say it's added stoppage.
Yep.
Because these players don't feel safe. Well, that then becomes an issue between the players' union and the owners, which then, if the owners are in fact trying to force the players to play games, which they don't feel comfortable in participating in due to this, a global pandemic, I think the tension there is, if that turns out to ever be the case, that you can't fix it. That's something that won't be able to be fixed.
Yep.
That's essentially saying, you wake up every morning and you go to your job, and your job fires you because you said to them, I don't want to come to work because I don't want to catch this, I don't want to catch this shit.
Yep.
Or they say, all right, well, you're not going to be, we want you to do it. And then you say no. And then, well, that's it. You're not going to get paid anymore. You're not going to get paid anymore.
Well,
you're
on
not going
top
to
of
have
that,
a job anymore.
That's a void of contract, because you got to keep in mind, these players are signing contracts saying that they're going to play X amount of games, X amount of money guaranteed for X amount of years.
Right.
Now, if the NBA, say for example, the NBA comes back, but there's players that don't feel safe because there have been players that have tested positive, and you see it basketball is a very physical game. Now, they say 6 feet apart. Well, you can't really play basketball 6 feet apart.
I'm not giving Steph Curry 6 feet to shoot a jumper. So
exactly. Exactly. Now, if these players feel as though that's not safe and they don't want to come back and play just at that moment, they shouldn't be penalized for that. Because say they take away their pay for that year, yeah, they might have money stashed away, but that's still pay that you're taking from them and their family.
Right.
And that just doesn't sit right with me. I feel as though that they should definitely wait until it's 100% safe, and there should be things set in motion, sort of like there's companies that are starting to do, employees have to take their temperature before they even enter the building. They have to take their temperature before they even leave for work. There's companies doing mandatory testing. All these different kind of things that I feel that going forward, if they do want to make things mandatory, that these are mandatory stuff that they should follow. And so,
right.
Yeah.
So, and it's you look at the only sport. What's the only sport that's actually going on right now consistently? In America, the UFC. Now, Now the difference is between what the UFC is able to do rather than a basketball organization or football or hockey or baseball. It's not a season what UFC is doing. For instance, the Tony Ferguson Justin Gaethje fight. There was an undercard fight that the fighter Jacare Souza he tested positive. UFC carried 1,200 tests, tested everybody that was there on the way in and on the way out. Jacare Souza knew he was exposed to it. So essentially he had it. Not even essentially. He had it. He tested positive. Yep. Him and two of his cornermen. So that fight was scrapped. What happens down the line? Let's say the Dodgers and the Yankees are playing, and 2/3 of the Yankees test positive for COVID. Then what? It's not like you could just say, "Oh, well, that fight's off. That game, we don't have to play that game."
Yeah,
we can reschedule that game for down. We're in a season. The difference between the UFC, they won't have to strike. They don't need to strike.
Yeah, and
they don't need to prevent themselves from going into it.
Yep, and you got to put into consideration as well that a lot of people, I don't know if many people realize, these fights, these guys only fight for one fight per 6 months to a year. That's one meeting.
Yeah,
they train.
Right.
They're training the rest of the year. So, yeah, They might say, oh, we'll scrap this fight, but that doesn't mean that that's their only fight for the year. They could always reschedule it for later in the year.
Right.
But if that fight does go on, then they're going to be out of the picture for another 6 months, 5 months, however long it is until their next fight.
Right.
And especially with the whole COVID pandemic, say we're UFC fighters, I test positive, I'm going to say, okay, well, let's postpone for now. I can wait until everything's healthy, 2 weeks go by that I have no symptoms, and then we can schedule the fight again. You know what I mean?
Right. But to my point, can the Yankees and the Red Sox, are they going to reschedule it?
There's way too many. There's way too many games.
It's
way too
many
games.
Other factors, and that brings me to the point of a potential strike, and or like I said, lack of a better term, work stoppage. I think there's if players aren't comfortable, they're not going to play. Damian Lillard of the Portland Trailblazers said he's already not going to play because he doesn't think that their team is worth, risking himself, because he doesn't think they're capable of winning the NBA Finals. Essentially, is what he said. So why am I going to risk myself if my team's not going to, if we don't have a shot in hell, then why am I going to play? Why do I have to expose myself?
Exactly.
So now, is he going to get punished by the owners for that, or is that going to be an accepted thing? Are we going to see a ripple effect of, oh, well, he didn't want to play, so maybe I shouldn't play. Oh, well, those two guys didn't play, so I damn sure not playing. Are we going to see that type of thing happen?
Yeah.
That could eventually lead into a work stoppage.
Yep.
There's so many variables.
There's a lot of variables, and I completely agree that you raised a really good point right there. Damian Lillard, for example, a lot of players, for example, actually, they talk. Players talk. Players are friends. They talk. They hang out, all that stuff. If Damian Lillard says, "Oh, I'm not going to play," then say his his best friend is his small forward. His small forward's like, "Oh, well, if he's not playing, I'm going with him. I'm not going to play.
Right.
Why should I put myself at that?" So I agree that I think that there might be a ripple effect going throughout all the leagues, that why should they put themselves out there to possibly contract this if they don't even have, if they believe that they don't even have a shot at going anywhere.
Right.
Now, I don't believe that they should be punished. Like I said,
Absolutely not.
I'm for the
Absolutely
players.
not.
I am for the players. So I don't feel as though
I'm for safety. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm safety all the way for me.
Exactly. And I don't think they should be punished at all. And if they do get punished, then that's definitely something that could lead up to a strike or something going on in whatever league that may
Oh
persist in.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So I feel as though that there probably will be a ripple effect of at least a few more players. It can't just be one.
Yeah. I mean, you may not see the whole league. You may not see a tidal wave, but you're definitely going to see a splash. I feel like.
Exactly.
Because
Yep.
you got these teams. Nothing has been set in stone for the NBA's return. So there's been reports, but there's no. One day you'll hear, oh, NBA is going to do a 2014 like the NHL. But then you're going to hear, 2 hours later, oh, well, there's no truth to those reports. We're looking at all possibilities, and, we're looking at one big 16-team tournament, and this team plays the worst team, yada, yada.
Yep.
There's nothing been set in stone. So if I'm a cusp team, let's say if you're undecided between the 24-team format and the 16-team format, and let's say I play on the 18th or 19th team, well, I don't want to play. If I have to go against the Lakers in the first round and I know my team's not good enough to compete just yet, I'm not going to get swept and expose myself to, possibly a life-threatening issue.
Exactly.
I am much rather going to, I'll sit my ass in my mansion. I'll work on my game. I'll work out. And, hey, once this is all done, next year we can do this again.
Yep.
But for now, I'm going to chill. I'm not going to get sick. I'm not exposing myself.
Yep. No,
and but then at the same point, well, this 18th or 19th seed team, if there's a 24 round, they have that option. But if there's a 16, well, whatever.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yep. And
then even then, like the 16th team, like whoever that may be, I don't know. I'm not a big NBA guy. But like, are they going to risk? Do they want to risk? If they then have to play the Lakers or whoever, Clippers, who are going to be these dominant powerhouse teams, I'm not exposing myself. I barely even want to play this A7FL season, whenever that might start.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I might postpone it too. I don't feel as though it's going to be worth it, especially because you got guys coming from out of state. You got teams in Maryland coming up to Jersey. You got Pennsylvania teams coming over to Jersey. Not let alone you might have to travel to Maryland or to Pennsylvania.
Not to mention, I mean, it's a lot different than, us in the pros, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't know where these guys have been. They don't know where I've been.
Exactly.
Nobody's been tested, at least with these teams, in the NFL, NBA, the major pro sport. They'll be tested so you kind of get an idea.
Yep.
Even you can test me.
I doubt that there will be any.
I don't think I'm going to even want to risk myself.
I doubt that there will be any type of ruling put in the A7FL for testing.
Oh, for sure. I don't see it.
Exactly. And I can already see that the NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, all these different leagues, they can put that in that, you have to be tested before you can return. And before you enter the building, you have to take your temperature, all these rules, because these are rules that these guys are going to follow because these are the leagues that are cutting their checks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think these smallish, but look at the XFL.
Yep.
XFL got shut down. They're done. No more. Arena was on its way out. I'm pretty sure all major arena, they're done.
Yep.
Then you look at then you take like what UFC did. They had stockpiled over 1,200 tests for one fight. So you had the announcers, the ring girl, the president himself, Dana White, the ring announcer, all the fighters, the cornermen, everybody got tested on the way in and on the way out. Little leagues like us, we don't have that.
Yep.
We don't have that.
We don't have any of that. We don't have any of that.
We don't have that.
None at all. And I'm going to be honest. There's not many rules that are put in place for the A7FL as a player union kind of thing.
Right.
The A7FL, just to give a little background for those of you watching that don't exactly know what the A7FL is 7-on-7 football, 3 linemen. no pads, full contact. There's rules. You go from hash mark to sideline. There's refs. It's pretty official, but the only issue is that there's not like a player association. Your voice isn't really heard, and that's one thing that I feel.
At this point, it's just a rec league. At this point, it's a very, very popular rec league.
Yep.
And the thing about it is we're taking the right steps, to make it grow.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. It's easy for me to sit here and say, oh, well, it's going in the right direction because, myself and Steve, we run the team. We run a team. But there's a lot of things that we can do better to make it to where we have the opportunity to be tested, to have all of our players tested like the NBA does or the UFC does or the NFL will do. Well, we just don't. So to my point, smaller leagues kind of they're on an uphill battle. If the NBA is struggling to get going, and the NHL is struggling now, they just finalized, and the NFL is.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
What are these leagues like the A7FL or the XFL or the Arena Football Leagues or the minor league baseball? Like, what are they going to do? They don't have the funding.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Major pro sports are hurting. How little,
exactly.
Minor league baseball
major pro sports are struggling just to stay in the spotlight. And you got teams now. I like to use the A7FL mainly because me and Bobby have both been through the system. The A7FL, we don't even get paid. We do not get paid to play. This is more of a pride thing at the moment.
Right.
Now there is the possibility for it once the A7FL builds and gets more of a background. Don't get me wrong, it's great. There's games played on TV. There's games that are streamed. There's a big wide array of viewers.
11 Sports, YouTube, Twitch. Shout out to Ryan DePaul. I still think you're doing a good job, buddy.
But it's not at the point where it can be recognized as something that, like the XFL, for example, that uses the pro sports team stadiums and is broadcasted on ESPN and all this. Don't get me wrong. Can the A7FL get there at some point? Yes.
For sure.
But it is definitely going to take time. Now, there have been retweets and comments and all that stuff from professional players like Cam Chancellor, for example. Cam Chancellor has come to A7FL games and he broadcasted live on Instagram. He posted on Instagram saying, hey, you guys need to check this out. Mike Ditka, the A7FL has used quotes by Mike Ditka that it's safer. And in my opinion, it is safer. It's a lot safer.
For sure.
Because me and Bobby and any of the listeners who have played football in their life will know when you're wearing a helmet, you don't care what happens. You will hit them with whatever body part you can. And I can say that I've had 4 concussions on the record. And
how many off the record? How many off the books?
If we're going to be honest, I've had in total 7 concussions.
Lot.
7 concussions in total. Yeah. 4 of them were on the record. 3 were not. Those were for obvious reasons.
I'm older than you. My coach is, it's just a ringer. You're good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the thing. So for me personally, the concussions that were on the record were obvious. That the actual training staff pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you need to sit down."
Yeah, kind of like when you're walking to the other team's sideline and they're just looking at you like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yep, exactly.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly. And then 3 of them off the record, they were more like, we had a huge game coming up and it was my decision. Now, these 3 were all my decision to play through. Looking back now, was it a good idea? Probably not.
Probably not.
But in the moment, 100%.
Yeah.
And just the fact that when you're wearing a helmet, you will use any part of your body, including your head, as a weapon. But when you strip yourself down to the basics of just wearing a pair of basketball shorts and a jersey, you're more form tackle. Because I could tell you guys right now that playing through this league, it's not easy. It is not easy at all. And you have to form tackle. There are certain rules that are in place about the way you tackle somebody. Like, you have to wrap them up. You can't just hit stick someone.
Can submarine at the knees, which is a huge rule.
Can't
Huge
do
rule
that.
I think a lot of people don't even recognize. They don't know that rule is set in place. I think everybody just assumes that, there's shoulders to the kneecaps, and it's just not that. That's not the case at all.
Exactly.
Not the case at all.
Exactly. I do see it as being a league that can prosper, and I do see it as being a future league, but I don't see it overcoming the NFL, only because that's what this country was built on, was the pure gruesomeness of two people running full speed into each other and hitting each other. Don't get me wrong, we have big hits in A7FL, but nothing like in the NFL or in college football or any other full padded sport.
Yeah.
So
I think it's an uphill battle, but it goes to prove that there's warriors everywhere that actually want to get back to the sports. NBA wants to get back to the sports. NHL, which I would love to start talking about. I would love to talk about this format that they're going to do. They're warriors. We're warriors for playing the game that we play. The NHL just started back up. They just agreed to a new proposal.
Going into our next topic.
Yeah, segue. What a fucking segue. Transition, man.
Yep.
That's what we do around here. Welcome to the Hammered Club.
Yeah, the Hammered Media. All right. The NHL did put out a few comments. The commissioner did put out a few comments that in early June the teams will return to the club facilities and be able to practice. Camp will start on July 1st. Now, one thing that I thought was interesting was when they shut down, that was the end of the 2019-2020 season. The regular season is over. They had games left, but now it is over. So they put in place of a new system for this upcoming playoffs of the NHL. They're going to do round robins. Then it goes to a playoff qualifier, then the Stanley Cup. The remaining 7 teams that don't make it to the playoff qualifier go straight into the lottery. Those are your lottery teams right there.
All the scrub teams, like the Devils.
Pretty much.
Losers.
Losers. Pretty much.
Let's go Rangers.
I'm a Sharks fan myself.
Let's go Rangers.
But they have put in different ideas. They have a listing of cities that they are going to host these playoff qualifiers and Stanley Cup. Those included Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Dallas, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Vancouver, Toronto, Edmonton, Minneapolis, and then Columbus, Ohio. Now, in my opinion, I feel as though that some of these teams that are going to get this home court advantage that we were speaking about earlier, it's in my opinion, it's a little bit unfair, just a little bit, because NHL. I was born in California. I lived there for a couple years, and I've been to Sharks games, which is why I am a Sharks fan. And what I will tell you is when those teams are playing in the playoffs, which I've been to a Sharks playoff game in San Jose, that atmosphere is insane, and that specific fan base can switch who's going to win a game. And that's hands down right there. Now, it's not only just NHL, it's all sports, like we were speaking about earlier. NBA, same concept. Now, these teams like LA, the Kings, okay? The LA Kings, they're a good team, don't get me wrong. But I feel it's a little unfair if they have to play all X amount of games, 5-7 games in LA when you're a team from the East.
See, here's the thing. Here's what, for me, the home ice hockey's a lot different than any other sport in the playoffs. Hockey's a different beast. Hockey is one of the best playoff sports, if not the best playoff sport you can watch as a fan, either on TV or in the arena. So not too many people understand that, the trajectory of a puck off the boards is a lot different in one arena compared to the other.
Yep.
That's a major factor. So
Yep.
now you put a team, let's say, one of the hub cities suggested was Pittsburgh. So let's say you put the Sidney Crosby and Genny Malkin and the Pittsburgh Penguins in their home arena to play against the team, for 7 games in their arena. Now, obviously, players are smart enough to pick up on certain, the way the ball bounces, so to say. But, those first 2, maybe 3 games, that's a distinct advantage for the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are playing, let's say they're playing, I don't know. I don't even know who's the number 1 team at the moment, Washington Capitals. A team that can easily, advance and win the cup. So now the Washington Capitals are having to play their home game in Pittsburgh against the Penguins, who the Penguins understand their ice. Not to mention, and let's get back to the real home field advantage, home ice advantage, the fans. I've been to Philadelphia Flyers games. I'm a diehard Ranger fan. I've been to Flyers games. Those people are insane at hockey games.
Yep.
Insane.
Well, it's not just NHL though. It's Philadelphia as a whole. All Philadelphia sports. Philadelphia sports. They are diehard fans till they die. And I can tell you that I'm a huge Phillies fan. Been to many Phillies games. Citizens Bank Park, loaded. I can tell you that right now. Those fans are all insane. Just make sure you're wearing a Phillies jersey if you go to one of those games. But Eagles, for example, as you were saying before, how the stadiums used to have courtrooms and jails in the stadium. The old Eagles Stadium used to have the same thing. They had a jail and a courtroom in the stadium.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say is you do not mess with Eagles fans. And
it brings us – I don't want to talk too much about football here because, we're on the NHL playoff subject. But, you take a fan base away out of the stadium like Philly, where their fans are throwing batteries at players. J.D. Drew of the Cardinals, they cheered when Michael Irvin got his career-ending injury. They booed Santa Claus. You take that out of a arena, an 18,000 seat arena.
Yep.
What does that give you? That doesn't give you a home ice advantage.
Exactly.
The boards thing, players pick up on things. They pick up on small things. I said 3 games before. It might not even take a full game. 3 games was at worst for the road team. But you take away 18,000 screaming fans who are fuck you, you suck. I'm throwing things on the ice. Well, that's a big factor. Like I said before previously, have a free throw shooting contest in front of 10,000 people screaming at you, telling you suck.
Yep.
If you're not strong enough, your mental is going to fail. Now go have a free throw contest with somebody in a public park. It's a lot different. It's a whole different ballgame. Now, granted, I never played in front of 10,000 people for a free throw contest, but I see the way NBA players have to lock in. And essentially it's the same thing for hockey. You look at a goaltender. All it takes is a goaltender to get hot. Yes. But if you have a goaltender who has a rough game on the road, oh my God, he's not going to hear the end of it until he's benched or his team's done.
Yep.
So having an NHL playoff without without fans it's not the same. Don't get me wrong, I can't wait for it. I am a diehard hockey fan, but it's just not the same, and it's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing pans out. I wonder if they're going to let fans in. I don't see it happening, but I would love to. I would love to see it.
Well, one thing I will say is a lot of these places that are going to be a hub city that they'll play these games, most of them are open. I don't know exactly about Canada. Some of our viewers from Canada, if you want to shoot us an email or something, give us a little insight on what's going on in Canada.
We will be starting the Twitter very soon. We're a little bit behind the ball on that, but the Twitter's coming.
Yeah, Twitter is coming.
thehammeredmedia@gmail.com. Please shoot us your input on what's going on up there.
Let us know because they have all three cities, Vancouver,
Yeah.
Toronto, and Edmonton, are all going to be considered as host cities. Now, one thing I did want to bring up, since these are host cities, there are the possibility of two teams that aren't even from that city playing in that arena.
Right.
Now that's just bogus in my opinion. You have, for example, the Rangers and the Islanders playing in Chicago. You know what I mean? Like, that's just as an example. That's going to throw it off a lot, because you might have fans down there that might want to come if they are allowed, but it's not going to be anything.
I don't even think that's going to happen. I don't even think it's going to happen.
Yep.
And that's the sad part about this whole thing.
Yep. And so I just feel that that a lot of this ending of these seasons and the beginning of these seasons aren't going to be anything crazy like they used to be. They're not going to be what we're accustomed to.
Right.
They're going to be completely different, and I am a little bit fearful to see what this process is going to come to, and what sports are going to come out to once they do reopen and once they do start seasons and practices and games and all that stuff.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I think at this moment in time, NFL is the only one that's giving us any hope of having, fans in the stadium. And like I said before, I don't even think that's going to happen.
That's iffy as well.
Yeah.
But let's segue on to our main event.
Speaking of the NFL.
I was doing a little research, and me and Bobby have both got a list of triple threats in the NFL for the 2020 season. I got the entire list in front of me. We both have our opinions. We both have our thoughts. Who's the best triple threat? These triple threats are all compiled of quarterback, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, receiver, quarterback, running back, fullback. All different combinations. So we can just dive right into it. First up, you got the Colts with Phillip Rivers, Jonathan Taylor, and T.Y. Hilton. How do you feel about that, Bobby?
So, to be quite honest with you, I did look at the list. My list is a little different. I did a top 5 with some honorable mentions, but I don't even have the Colts. I don't have the Colts even remotely close to my list, and I will tell you why. Last year, the Los Angeles Chargers had a guy named Phillip Rivers under center.
Yep.
That man looked like he was throwing cinder blocks to receivers. He looks done. Mm-hmm. I don't think his arm strength is holding up anymore. I think he's done. I think he's finished. So for him to be above some of the teams that didn't even make the cut, I believe it was a CBS Sports article.
Yeah, I believe it was a CBS Sports article that released this. Yes.
Yeah. So to have him above some of the teams that have legitimate threats, dual threats, triple threats, I don't buy it. I don't buy them having. I like the rookie running back. I do.
Well, that was what I was going to go into. That's honestly why I wanted to bring this up. Look at Jonathan Taylor. Look at his highlights from college. This guy is if he can play the way he played college ball in the NFL, he will be a force to reckon with. He is a great short distance runner. Great short distance, great field vision, can find the open hole, hit it, and go. Now, open field as well. This guy's got legs. He's got speed. If he gets into open field, I'm not saying he's super fast, he's the fastest guy, but if he gets into open field, that's dangerous. That is really dangerous. Okay? Now, obviously, Phillip Rivers, he's on his way out. He's iffy.
T.Y. Hilton, he hasn't played a full season in quite some time as well.
Exactly. And that was one thing I did want to mention. T.Y. Hilton, after the season of his baby being born, I don't think he did much. He hasn't really done much. Don't get me wrong, he's a great receiver.
Oh, T.Y. is still T.Y. for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
But he's not the T.Y. that I would want to see playing.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I don't even have them on my honorable mention. I have my top 5, and then I have a a 6-team honorable mention, and they're not even sniffing the list.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just feel as though that Jonathan Taylor, if he plays the way he played college ball, he will definitely be a force to reckon with. Now, the Colts as a team, I don't think they're going to be anything special this upcoming season, especially after what I'm drawing a blank on his name. I don't even remember his friggin' name. The
Quarterback, Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck, yeah. Yeah, see, he's gone out of my mind already. He ruined that team. He completely ruined that team by just leaving.
His retirement definitely was piss poor. Piss poor timing.
Exactly. And I feel the Colts not this season, maybe not even
definitely
next season.
Piss poor timing.
Yeah, maybe not even 2 seasons from now. Who knows? I don't think the Colts are going to be a force anytime soon. They're in rebuilding. They are rebuilding. And I feel as though they're going in the right direction with this pickup of Jonathan Taylor. But then again, you never know. We've seen guys that are great in college, i.e. Jameis Winston, who are great in college, but when they get put in the NFL, completely different ballgame.
Yeah. Let me ask you, who do you have as your top 5?
So my top 5, I don't have them in specific spots like 1 through 5. I just have 5.
5. Yeah.
Yep, I just have my favorite 5. So I'm just gonna raffle them off, go right down the list. I got the Browns, Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham. Okay, obviously for obvious reasons, Baker Mayfield, stud quarterback. Okay, Nick Chubb, great running back. Odell Beckham, huh? Yeah, hey.
Stud, huh?
Stud,
huh? This might be our first. Okay, all right. First disagreement.
In my opinion, all right.
All right.
Odell Beckham, you've seen what he did in New York. You've seen what he's done last season. He's a great wide receiver. Okay. Next up, I have the Falcons: Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, Julio Jones. Yeah.
I don't have them on my honorable mention.
But you got to think about that though. Matt Ryan can sling the ball, and if he can still sling the ball the way he used to, he can get it to Julio Jones. But if they try and shut down the pass game, you hand that ball off to Todd Gurley.
Can he run?
Todd Gurley?
His knees, man. He's got arthritic knees. He's an old man.
Hey, it don't matter. Todd Gurley is a force to be reckoned with, in my opinion. All right. Next, I have the Saints: Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas. 3 great players right there. Drew Brees, yeah, he's getting up there, but he's still a quarterback to be reckoned with. I mean, look at last season. Look at the season before. He's been putting up numbers. Okay,
yeah,
Alvin
I don't think there's any argument against that. I don't think that anybody could possibly make an argument against that.
Exactly.
The only argument to be made is what you said is Drew Brees' age, and I don't even think that
it's not even a factor at this point.
That's nothing.
Then you got behind him, you got Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, he's on the come up, man. He's showing that he can produce in this league, and he's only getting better from here. Okay, Michael Thomas. He was a nobody for a decent amount of time, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, boom, I guess it clicked in his mind in the offseason. I got to do some shit. And look at him last season. He's putting up numbers. He can show that he is a receiver that can produce, especially with Drew Brees throwing him the ball. You know, there's future there. Then this was
you forgot to mention he broke the single season reception record last year. So.
Exactly. Yep, that completely slipped my mind. Exactly.
With a 87-year-old quarterback. So.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
For the record, they're on my list. They're number 3 on my list. They're number 3 on my list.
This was a little bit of a stretch, but hear me out. The Steelers: Ben Roethlisberger, James Conner, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay? Interesting.
It's an interesting pick, but you gotta put your mind to it. Okay, Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. He's not what he used to be, but he's still a damn good quarterback, and he can do what that team needs him to do. Okay, Juju Smith-Schuster. He's a receiver. Okay, he's made a name for himself.
Hey, he's a baller.
Exactly.
He's a baller, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I gotta add him to the top 5. The Chiefs: Patrick Mahomes,
Of course.
Clyde Edwards, Tyreek Hill. Okay.
Ooh, so you're okay. Okay. So your list is very different than mine. I like it.
Okay.
I like
Okay.
it. I like
Yeah,
it. All
no.
right. Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong. I do have some honorable mentions, such as the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, Mark Andrews. That is a force to be reckoned with right there. On top of that, let's see, the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, and Adam Thielen. Another force to be reckoned with. Okay. One thing that I did want to bring up, the Titans. The Titans with the move at quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown.
I'm not sold on Tannehill.
Now, that's what
I get it. I get your theory. But I'm just not sold on Tannehill.
That was one thing I was gonna say. I was gonna bring in. Tannehill. He showed that he could be a quarterback. He could be a damn good quarterback when he was playing, when he was in Florida. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't kid me now.
Yeah.
Don't cheat me. Okay. But you got to think also, Derrick Henry behind him.
Okay, that's a stud. Yeah.
Derrick Henry is a stud. He is a stud. I'll tell you right now, there's many running backs in the league that I see play, and I'm like, I could probably tackle him. Derrick Henry, if I saw him running at me, I wouldn't even try. To be completely honest, I would not even try. He is
ducking.
Yeah, he is one big dude, and especially
linebacker
the meme, especially that meme that was going around.
Oh, with him and Ingram.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like father and son.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane. It looked like you just got done bullying your son, and then the dad shows up to whoop your ass.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, another great team, another great triplet that I just peeped out. The Cardinals. Kyler Murray.
Yep.
Kenyon Drake, DeAndre Hopkins. That speaks for itself. Kyler Murray showed his true colors last season.
Kyler Murray's only going to get better with DeAndre Hopkins and then having Larry Fitzgerald as his number 2 receiver.
Exactly. That is a team. I can see the Cardinals going the distance this year. Do I see them as a Super Bowl contender? Not yet. I feel as though Kyler Murray is not mature enough to lead his team to a Super Bowl. They
definitely need some more defensive pieces as well.
Exactly.
But, I mean, their offense is – Cliff Kingsbury's an offensive mind, so, having Hopkins come in via trade would be robbery. And then Larry Fitzgerald, who I don't know if you saw that stat, he has more tackles than he does drops.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's right there. Right there alone tells you something.
Oh, yeah. Knowing you, I feel like this next honorable mention on mine is probably in your top 5.
I think I know where you're going.
The 49ers?
Oh, no. They're on my
own. Oh, no. Well, but if you look at that, Jimmy Garoppolo showed himself. He showed himself that he could be he could quarterback that 49er team.
Okay? I don't trust him. Trust him.
Yeah, but you got to think George Kittle. George Kittle is a stud.
But yes, but what do their receivers look like? Deebo Samuel, that's it. Who else?
No, you got a point.
If you want to throw Jimmy G in there, fine. That's fine. He played pretty good in the regular season. Didn't show up too much in the Super Bowl, but that's okay. But then the receiving core doesn't – I think if you pick one weakness on that entire team, player 1 to player 90 that's coming into camp, I think wide receiver is their weakest position. And I think their running game is so good that it'll make up for it, and their defense is even better than the running game. So it'll all make up for it. But I think the receiving core is something that's, it scares me to the point where, hey, Seattle's good. Seattle's a good fucking team.
Yep,
so does Arizona does Arizona take that step as well to maybe win that division? Because Seattle's right there. It came down to one goal line stand last year. So, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, no, I was actually just looking at that too. There's 2 more that the Seahawks, Russell Wilson, Chris Carson, and Tyler Lockett. It all depends. In my opinion, Russell Wilson is a hit or miss team. He's a hit or miss quarterback. He could have a great season. He could have a terrible season.
See, I'm a big fan of Russ. What I'm not with this team. I don't even have them in my honorables, and I'll tell you why. The health of the run game and their receiving core, I'm not sold on.
Okay.
Now they do have DK Metcalf as a stud, but it's going into the second year, and he's still young. He still struggled with drops last year. Lockett is all right, but he's not that – to me, he's not that guy that you're going to put in the category of, if I had one pass, who am I throwing to?
Yeah.
But that's my opinion.
No, I completely agree. One team that I did want to bring up, the Packers. Now, the Packers,
Yes.
You got Aaron Rodgers, which Aaron Rodgers made a name for himself. I don't even have to go into that.
A-Rod is A-Rod.
Exactly. Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams. You know what I mean? That is a triplet right there that can make big noise in the league next year.
See, I'm thinking I might have took this triple threat thing a little bit different than you did, because I do love Green Bay, but the reason why they barely scratched the surface on the honorable mention is because they don't have anybody past Devontae Adams at the receiving core. So maybe I took it as who's got the best quarterback, running back, wide receiver combo, pass catcher, I should say. So maybe I took that a little bit different, but I do see where you're coming from with that. Devontae Adams he might be one of the best receivers in the league that nobody really talks about for whatever reason. And then Aaron Jones, kid's a stud. You saw what happened. You saw what happened whenever he's out of the game. It's not the same team. It's not the same offense.
Oh yeah. And I mean, there's other teams on here that I wouldn't necessarily say honorable mentions, but they do have players. Like the Eagles, for example, Carson Wentz. Okay, Carson Wentz. He's a decent quarterback. Is he one of my tops? I wouldn't say he's a top. But he can definitely run that team, and he can definitely play the position. Okay,
he's better than Dak Prescott.
Yep, in my opinion. Sorry, anybody.
Sorry.
I'm going to be honest. The Cowboys weren't even in my honorable mentions.
Sorry.
Because the Cowboys triplet, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and Amari Cooper. What did they do last season? What did they do?
Yeah, they had a hell of a season. I will say that, and I think that's part of the reason why my list kind of differs from yours, just because I might have pictured the way this conversation was going, to be one way, and you have it set or read a little bit in an article a different way. But I actually have Dallas as my fourth on my list.
Okay.
I actually have Dallas on my list.
See, no, I understand where you're coming from. I do understand where you're coming from because, I mean, don't get me wrong. Dak Prescott, he has the IQ. He knows what to do. He has the tools. He's got Ezekiel Elliott, who I don't understand why. I really don't. Everybody who's a Dallas fan is all over him. Over him.
You know that. You know that's going to happen, Homer. It's Homer shit.
And then Amari Cooper. Now, I'm not going to say, I mean, there might be a little bit of bad blood there. There might be a little bit of bad blood. He kept getting hurt for the Raiders. Then they traded him, and all of a sudden he's some stud wide receiver now. Come on.
Maybe he didn't want to be there. Maybe he didn't want to play for you guys anymore.
I mean, I don't doubt it, only because there was also the Khalil Mack situation.
Yeah.
The whole Khalil Mack situation. I mean, it's a little bit off topic, but there was talks he didn't want to play in Oakland anymore, and he wanted to move. That's why he didn't show up to training camp. Am I angry about that? Absolutely not, because look who we got for those draft picks. Carl Joseph.
Yeah.
A lot of people criticized John Gruden for that trade, but not many people put their minds to it to see where John Gruden's coming from.
A team like you guys, the Raiders weren't going to win a Super Bowl. Not with that team.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know who disagrees, who agrees, but in my mind, they weren't going to win a Super Bowl. Absolutely not with that team.
I agree.
So
win a Super Bowl.
Why not trade a piece or two Mark Cooper, to get more, to build your team up.
Yep.
It's called the rebuild. That's it. It's the best way to do it. In the NFL, you tear it down. If it's not working, you build it back up.
Exactly. And that was one thing that I'm going to be honest, growing up sucked, was that the Raiders were in rebuilding from 2002 all the way to about 2000 and I believe 14, 15.
Do you know who you're talking to about rebuild?
Yeah, I know.
Trust me, I know that, right? You know that, right?
Trust me, I know.
Okay. Just want to double check. Who you're on the line here with.
Yeah, no, you understand it. You completely understand it.
More than anybody.
Exactly.
Maybe Lions and Cleveland Brown fans. That's it.
Yep. The Browns are a perfect example. Browns fans can get behind this all they want. They were on the rebuild for, I don't even remember.
Ever?
I don't even know. Basically, yeah. And honestly, in my opinion, they've been on the rebuild since they had the whole criminal team back in the day.
Man, listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the 3 Cleveland Brown fans there are in the world, but everything right here is spitting facts. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck you guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sorry.
No, we don't sugarcoat nothing here at Hammer Media.
No. We keep it real, keep it funky. Cleveland Browns have sucked forever, and I think they're still going to suck, but that's not even – don't get me wrong. Don't get me going. Don't get me wrong.
So, no, I'm actually curious who's your 1 through 5.
All right, so let me start with the honorable mentions here. I won't go too deep into the waters here, but I have Philly. I have Arizona. We touched on them. Touched on Minnesota a little bit. You can't go wrong with Kirk Cousins. I'm not the biggest Kirk Cousins guy. Mm-hmm. I think his numbers are a little bit, overrated for the money that he's getting, which, I mean, again, at the end of the day, it's not his fault. Let him get his money. I have San Francisco as a honorable mention. Regular season San Francisco, because I don't trust playoff Jimmy G.
Oh, yeah.
Neither here nor there. Cleveland, and they're only an honorable mention. You look at the 2 stud receivers they have. If you look at the tight ends, the running backs obviously are incredible, or Chubb at least. But like I said, I don't trust Baker Mayfield. I don't think he's that good. I really don't. I might get slandered on here, but I don't care.
Those 3 Browns fans are going to be blowing up your DM.
Cleveland, I'm sorry, man. You guys don't deserve this, but you got a quarterback who is more bark than bite, and it's been evident since he walked into Oklahoma.
Well,
the crotch grabs, the spike in the flag in the center of the field.
If you think about it, though, the
flipping off.
Cleveland's had a track record. Look at who they had. They had Johnny Manziel. Mr. Money Manziel. All about himself.
Now, I'm almost positive that this year is going to turn around and bite these words in my ass. I get that. I completely get that. Because it usually does. As soon as I start going on a tangent about how somebody sucks, I'm always wrong at the end of the day. But this is fine. I don't hate Cleveland. I don't hate the Browns. They're okay in my book. The city is suffering just like my boys in Buffalo. But I just, at this moment in time, I don't think he's that good. I don't think he is that good. I think he's quite overrated. I think going number 1 overall was a joke. I think there was 3 quarterbacks in that draft that were better than him, and now it turns out that there's 4 quarterbacks better than him. And I'm not talking about Josh Rosen. So,
yeah,
it is what it is with that.
Yeah, but, I agree.
And my last honorable mention, obviously, we touched on the Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Can't go wrong. The only reason why they're honorable mention is because, like I said, my list differs a little bit. The point behind it.
Yep.
Devontae Adams is just Devontae Adams. Who's their number 2? I don't even know. You don't know probably. It's just who you throwing to. But let's get into the juice here. So okay. I'm gonna start off and just do that real quick. Number 5. I'm gonna argue this one till the cows come home. The Buffalo Bills.
Oh, my God.
And like I said, I might have looked at it the wrong way than what you were describing this list as. I looked at it as You added a guy, Stephon Diggs. The receiving core is there. You got a guy named John Brown, who's now a number 2 receiver, who was number 1 last year, had over 1,500 yards in receiving. You go to a guy in Devin Singletary, who is perhaps one of the most up-and-coming superstar running backs in the league. Mark my words, watch Devin Singletary motor. And a guy who's, in my mind, extremely underrated and will forever be bashed for no reason other than he's a quarterback of the Buffalo Bills and went to Wyoming, Josh Allen.
Okay.
I can go into a tangent if you want, but I'm going to keep it. We got to wrap this up soon, so I'm going to keep it a little lower. But so, that's my number 5 team. Massacre me all you want. I don't care. I will argue it till the cows come home.
You are entitled to your opinion. Obviously, we have many similar views. Obviously, we can't butt heads because we do it a lot.
Of course.
But I feel I kind of agree. I feel that maybe next season I would have to see the first 3 games. First 3 games.
Oh, for sure.
First 3 games, see how everything works out, and then go from there.
For sure.
There's a lot of teams this upcoming season that hit or miss. They might be good on paper, but you don't know. Yep.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, Cleveland's the easiest team to go after at this point. But there's a lot of teams that are really good on paper, but they just can't do it. They just can't win games. I mean, look at the Giants offense when they had Manning, Beckham, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Like that's a good core on paper. But where's the wins?
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't run a whole offense through 3 people.
Paper don't mean shit if you don't have ink in the pen.
Exactly.
So, number 4, I let you guys know before, it was Dallas Cowboys, because I think, the receiving core is very good, especially with the draft pick. CeeDee Lamb to Dallas, who's now, I guess, he would be their number 3 receiver. I know he's only a rookie, but he might be one of – I think he was the best receiver in that draft.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, we touched on New Orleans Saints. Can't go wrong. I'm not going to argue that. Number 2, touched on a little bit, the Baltimore Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson is a dual threat quarterback. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks, in the league.
Yeah.
And the running game, obviously we know about it. Lamar Jackson ran all over everybody. Mark Ingram ran all over everybody. Hollywood Brown is a guy that I think is going to be, down the line. I think he's going to be a very good receiver. And do I think he's at the point, that he's a guy that I would throw the ball to 30 times a game? Probably not. But that's when the tight ends come into play. And they're stud tight ends. And it's just they're just going to get better and better and better. And the number 1 team, I think you had them on their top 5, was the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think that's a no-brainer. When you have a Super Bowl MVP, a regular season MVP, and Patrick Mahomes, strongest arm in the league, you have a guy, Damian Williams, who's a beast of a running back.
Listen, no homo. You gotta put into effect too. No homo, but Patty Mahomes is one good looking dude. Okay,
he's a handsome man. He's a handsome gentleman.
Handsome gentleman, and you look good, you feel good, you play good.
Play good.
That's
Can't look good. Okay, hey. Can't look good without the Head and Shoulders commercial you've got going on too.
Troy Polamalu, shout out.
Hey man, this was fun.
Yeah, no. But yeah, no. Definitely I see exactly where you're coming from on this topic. There's a few teams that I feel as though that were mentioned that would be first 2 or 3 games, see how they all fit. There's a lot of good talent coming in, and we can get a first look this season at what's coming.
From our couches.
Yep, from our couches, unfortunately.
RIP fans in the stands.
Yeah, right. Fans in the stands. R.I.P. But alrighty, everybody. I do appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, I am Nick.
I am Bobby. Hey, man, this was fucking fun, man. We should do this
Yeah.
more often. We should
Yeah.
make a thing out of this, like we should actually make a podcast out of this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, our email for anyone that would need to contact Canadian viewers, go ahead and send us an email, because we actually are curious about what the COVID-19 pandemic is going through in Canada. I don't think it would be too much different than what we're going through.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, so definitely, I'm gonna link right here in between my hands our email. It is thehammeredmedia@gmail.com. And make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow, whatever platform you're watching. And we're looking to post videos at least minimum one podcast per week. So go ahead, tune in. If you guys, one podcast per week minimum. If we get enough topics that we can post a second one or a third one, we'll go ahead and do so. If you guys have any requests on news stories or news videos or sports, any type of sports related topic you want us to discuss, go ahead and shoot us an email, and we can definitely cover things. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and I believe, Bobby, you would have anything to say?
All I have to say is keep on the lookout. Our social media platforms are coming. We have just wanted to put this out there for the general listening public. They're coming. We have the email set up. We are under construction for the YouTube channel. I know that's going to be a bigger thing for me personally. When the sports betting world is being opened back up, but so look out for that. Look out for everything. We plan on being here for a while. This is real fun to do. I can't wait for the next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Can't wait to chop it up with you guys next week.
Yep, of course. So I want to reiterate, thank you everybody for listening, and go ahead, like, follow, subscribe, whatever platform you are listening on or watching, and look out for our next video next week.